I'm going to be blunt right here, but I think half the stuff from Andromeda is what's going to help them essentially rewrite those god awful tri-colored disasters. That and probably give them a little bit more of a way out for the other Mass Effect game. Even if people even like myself, who were massively, I was still carrying, and I still do in some ways, a massive, massive chip on my shoulder, just about how much Mass Effect 3 really screwed the pooch. I know a lot of people will still love 2 and 3 more so than 1, but of the 3, Mass Effect 1 had the most coherent story. 2 and 3 were able to expand on some character stuff, like different character types, whether they were dynamic or static and whatnot. But I think, honestly, yeah, I was too hard on Andromeda when I first played it. Plus, it actually has a more uplifting ending akin to Mass Effect 1, even though I didn't appreciate it as much at the time because, again, when I originally played Andromeda, I was giving it like a 4 out of 10 because I was still beyond pissed at Mass Effect 3. Even though so many years later, even now, it's a case of like I will never really be able to go through Priority Earth ever again. Even if that messes up something to possibly integrate into the next Mass Effect, like I won't be able to really bring an actual file over. My guess is they're probably going to pull a little bit of a Dragon Age Veilguard, and there's only going to be a handful of choices that are ported over, and you'll have to select it, possibly. Like, that's my guess, but there could be multiple ways they could do it. Like, when the PlayStation people didn't have the first one to go off of, they created, like, that kind of, like, comic book opening so they could select Mass Effect 1 choices. I imagine the next Mass Effect might have something similar. At this point, based on what a lot of the developers and everything have done, I'm not gonna hype myself up. I'll just make a bunch of guessing game and just leave it at that. But as far yeah, Andromeda though, it did get a rough shake from everybody. Yeah, granted, yes, it did have its problems, especially during launch. But I can definitely equate that more towards like I think EA only gave them like 2 years. Like all the pressure to get these games out, whether it was Mass Effect 2 or Mass Effect 3, like there's a little bit of a skip between 1 and two's development years wise, but they released the other two games at like a breakneck schedule. You know, like 2 years isn't very long to make most games. Like heck, I can even see nowadays with most indie games, it could take some of them 3 to 4 years, maybe even up to 5. I mean, then one of the bigger things was what was it? The one spaceship game, Star Citizen. Like that's been in development how long? And they have a lot of funding. So yeah. Yeah, poor Andromeda was hobbled from like the get go. But again, it might give everyone a way to have an out for the next Mass Effect, especially by connecting them both together. Like I know some people don't want that, but it really can give kind of like a time dilation effect or like a time skipping effect because of the massive black holes that are at the center of each galaxy. So there's a whole lot of different assholes they could do for the next one, but uh, yeah, this whole mini series I'm gonna be doing is essentially me being so beyond pissed because Mass Effect 3, I promised myself I would never get hyped for any other game ever again. And I've held true to that, which is the reason why nowadays I'll be pleasantly surprised if something at least meets some kind of standards. You know, that's just the way I'm coming off, at least as far as just being half normie gamer lady. And believe me, yes, I will put every single game that I can either on normal mode or easy. That's just the way I'm hooked up. Like nowadays, I don't have time to be challenged in most things that I consider like say like more escapist kind of thing. I want to be able to just relax my brain and just have a grand old time. If I feel like reading philosophy, I'll go after that later.